Streets Unplugged by the Luxembourg Streetphoto Collective.
Hello, hi, Paulo Lobo here from the Light Leaks Festival, this special edition. Very happy to be here with one of our guest photographers, Richard Kalvar. Thank you for accepting this invitation to have a small talk.
I'm honored.
It's been 3 intense days. We have been together. We have had the opportunity of listening to your talk, which was really very, very interesting and inspiring. It's the first time you come to know, not the first time. You told us it's not the first time. It was already a long time ago when you had the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, I came for 2 short visits a long time ago.
Yeah, good. This time you came for a little bit more time, but with the festival maybe you didn't have that much time to visit, to walk around.
No, I've walked from the festival to my hotel and back.
And back. Okay, good. So Richard Kalvar, it was a surprise to have you, and it was an excellent surprise to have you, because we know you came to help us because there was a cancellation of another conference, and then you generously came at last minute, and it was really for us who attended your conference a big moment, very big moment, because your photography is that at the same time light and simple and profound as well, because you're not playing with effects and filters and this kind of things. You're just going or looking for some moment who can transcend reality. Is it more or less good analysis?
Yeah, because I'm trying to capture the reality, but at the same time make it unclear. And so that you can't really tell what's going on. You have an idea, but it probably is not right, and that's just where I want to put the viewer.
Yeah, as it was explained during the conference, you mentioned context is the enemy, and this is a very audacious assertion. Nowadays, context is very important in many projects, photographic projects and other projects, because they tend to give more importance to the story and what happened and where did it happen and why did I photograph at this moment, etc., etc. And then they make series of photos, which is more or less the norm today. And you give a great importance to the word, the value of each photography in itself. I mean, you try to give in each photo a whole world of meaning, and that's what I find very, very interesting.
I hope that each picture is a story in itself, but not a very clear story. So a story where you think that something is happening, but maybe it could be something else also. But in context should be put in quotes in general, because things are not very clear very often in life. It's hard to figure out what's really happening. What's happening behind the scenes. What's happening in people's heads and hearts, and which is very different from what they're showing. So context is already suspicious for anyone's photographs, and I'm trying to take advantage of that. And make it totally disconnected.
Yeah. At the same time, when we are walking in the streets, in public spaces, as you mentioned, we don't know what's inside the heads of persons and where they are heading to and from where they come and what is their personal or individual circumstances. So we are taking them as actors that don't know they are actors.
Yes, that's... you're quoting me.
I'm quoting you exactly.
That's the way I think about it. I mean, I'm not showing particular people. I'm showing people like me, like you. humans.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a criticism of individuals or making comments about individual. Generally, I mean, there are situations. I've been a professional photographer also, so I've had to give context and so on. But when I'm free, I try to keep it as ambiguous as possible.
This interest in the what we call nowadays street photography, was it there right from the beginning? Because as you said, you had also your professional assignments, and at the same time we know mostly your free photos done in the streets. So when was this interest? When did it arise? When did it appear?
Well, it appeared actually from the almost the very beginning when I started taking pictures. I dropped into photography by chance. I had no interest in it when I was growing up. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't look at pictures. And one day I got a job working for a photographer, and that kind of started things off. But I also come out of. I mean, I didn't realize it immediately at the time, but I came out of a tradition of people who. Walked around and looked for pictures, and not necessarily. I mean, pictures were used obviously to describe reality in quotes, but there were already a number of photographers who were flaneurs. Something caught their eye, and they took pictures of it, and the pictures gave impressions that were, like with mine, not very clear. Cartier-Bresson, Kertész, and the people who were a little older than me when I began taking pictures of people like Lee Friedlander, Winogrand, Diane Arbus. So I'm not the first person to be doing this.
Yeah, of course.
But it once I started doing it, once I started taking pictures in a natural way, just letting myself go and photographing what I wanted, I almost automatically became that kind of photographer because it was what interested me the most.
Yeah, is it when you are in the street looking for pictures or trying to see things? What's your style? Are you in a contemplative mood? You let yourself go in a flow, or are you more like a hunter, very impatient to get things? Because we hear that Gary Winogrand, for example, was always on the look for pictures. Each minute was like a hunter. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I heard about him. So
he took a lot of pictures. That's for sure.
He took lots of pictures. Yeah. What is your attitude in streets?
Well, one day is one thing, and the next day is something else, or the next hour, or the next minute. I can be thinking about something else, or and then suddenly something catches my eye, or I've also gone hunting quite often, and not found anything, nothing to kill, but and then sometimes some little thing happens, and I go over and I try to take a picture, and then little by little other things happen, and I get an idea, and I move a little bit to the left or the right, and suddenly what seemed like something minor becomes very interesting.
Okay. You're not specifically looking for the big accidents or the big actions in the streets.
Well, I'd love to have the big incidents, but how can you look for them? They're unpredictable. I mean, I'm not talking about major crimes and people jumping out of the window. I'm talking about just the way some man looks at a woman next to another, next to a dog. It's small stuff. Mm-hmm. But sometimes with luck, things happen. But you have to know how to look for luck.
Mm-hmm. How important is for you the framing and the composition? because you told us during your talk that you didn't actually crop, you just took the pictures plain as they are taken.
Well, no. I don't crop my pictures, but that doesn't mean that I just take a picture and I don't care about the framing. I'm trying to crop in my head.
Okay. When you are taking the picture.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm cropping. I mean, I'm trying to limit the edges of the rectangle. When you take a picture, you're making a rectangle, and I'm very aware of that. It's essential because. If it's not done properly, the picture won't touch people. You know, if you create a scene in a rectangle where everything works, where the thing on the left works with the thing on the right, and the thing in the front works with the thing in the back, which happens rarely, then that's a picture that touches people. Okay. If it just looks like some sloppy thing or some finding some little interesting element, that's not sufficient. You know, you have to make it into a photograph, make it into a rectangle.
Okay, and lighting is also important for you. The right lighting, or is it secondary?
Yeah, it's very important. But you don't really have a choice about lighting generally. I mean, the light's what it is. Well, I mean, you can bring a flash and so on, but I live with the light that I get, but I try to use it in a way that's going to be effective. Okay. Touching the person who's going to be looking at the picture.
Yeah, you're not the one that uses flash that often, because in your pictures they always look very natural.
Well, some of my pictures were taken with flash, but now there's a lot of people use direct flash in an obvious way. I'm not everyone, but a lot of people do it. It's very stylish, but to me that's kind of gimmicky.
Yeah,
I'm trying to make it look natural. So even if I'm using a flash, I'm trying to make the light seem natural. I mean, it's false, because it's a flash, and I'm the one bringing it. But I want it to look like a scene that's really happening between people, and not something that I'm.
This kind of fashion-like approach. Okay.
Well, some people do it very well, but that's not my thing.
Well, you mentioned a few masters from the story of photography. So, can we say they are influences or source of inspirations, or you try to have your own way, or the words they in any matter maybe in your head when you photograph?
Well, I said that I had never looked at photographs, but of course I looked at photographs like everyone. I mean, the newspapers and magazines and advertisements and so on. So I had always seen pictures. It's just that I had never thought about doing them. But I could see that the way pictures were handled in magazines, for example, where Life magazine or magazines that I saw from time to time when I was growing up. And it didn't really interest me, because I had the feeling that it was being didactic in a way that was off-putting to me, because I didn't feel like, I didn't want people telling me how I'm supposed to see the world. And then I suddenly discovered the work of Cartier-Bresson, Robert Frank, and it was very liberating to me, because they weren't trying to describe the world. They were reacting to the world in a very personal way, and that's the thing that excited me. That's what I wanted to do. So I didn't want to take the same pictures as Cartier-Bresson or Robert Frank. I wanted to take my pictures, but I wanted to have their freedom to make the photograph that I wanted to make, or to play the way I wanted to play, which is not necessarily the way they wanted to play.
Okay, you became member of Magnum in '75.
Well, I became an associate member in '75, and I became a full member in '77.
So how come at that moment, were you already, you were already doing candid photography, unposed photography. Magnum took you, because did you do photojournalism? Because we always heard that Magnum was more focused on photojournalism and documentary photography. So
Magnum was founded by four people. One of them was not a photojournalist. His name was Cartier-Bresson. We've always had, traditions that went different ways. I mean, people were all taking unposed pictures, but they were doing different things. Some were, war photographers, and some were had been photographing flowers and stuff like that. So I was part of one of the strands of the Magnum tradition. No one expected that I was going to become a war photographer.
Okay. And you also took part in this project about online teaching, no, from Magnum about street photography. Am I right? Or
yeah. Magnum organized workshop
courses.
And so they did something with me.
Yeah. So we can still, find this course in Magnum.
It's on the Magnum website.
Okay, good.
It's not just me. It was on street photography.
Street photography.
We were about 5 or 6 photographers that were.
Okay. And what are the main things, most important things you start telling people concerning street photography? What are the main?
Who do you mean by people? Because sometimes I have students. I do workshops.
Okay.
Is that what you mean, or?
I mean the people that are that register in this kind of courses. You have then a public or.
Well, if I do a workshop, I'm dealing generally with people at different levels. Some who are experienced photographers, some who are beginners. A lot of people in between. I can tell you some of the things that I wind up saying very often. I ask people, I see a picture, and I know that when I see something that catches my eye, that's just the beginning. I have to work on it. I have to take more pictures. I have to look, think, move, get closer, move to the right, move to the left, until I try to make it better. So I never have one picture.
Okay.
I mean, I could have one picture, and a lot of people who take these photography courses have no idea about that. Okay. And so when they tell me, I say, how many pictures did you take? They say 1 or 2.
Okay.
And so the first obvious lesson is no, you can't do that. That's just the beginning.
Okay.
You have to do more of it. Okay. And then also people have a tendency to have something in the middle of the photograph, and it's the interesting thing in quotes is right in the middle, and then there's all this empty space around it, and so on. So I have to talk about the rectangle and how to effectively deal with the rectangle, and often to get closer in order to take the picture.
Like Kappa said,
which is not always easy to do.
Okay, this course is how long does it last? Your course in Magnum, I mean. Is it many lessons or?
No. It's one course that I guess lasts for a couple of hours. Okay. But my part is I don't know how long.
Okay.
It is.
Okay. Good. So we will check that on the Magnum site.
Okay.
Good. So concerning the books, so you have done several books. In the conference, you brought us this book with concerning the texts, pictures containing words, messages, and very interesting. the irony, the double meaning inside these pictures. So, what other books have you done or?
Well, I've worked on a number of books in my life, but I would say that the first real book that I did was in 2007. I did a book which was a kind of not a chronological history of what I did, but a collection of what I thought were my best pictures. Okay. And it's a book that I'm very happy with. It was called Earthlings.
Earthlings, okay.
Or Terrien in French.
Is it still available?
It's out of print.
Out of print.
I mean, you can find it on online, but
a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, I guess so. But that was very important for me because I had taken a long time before I did the book. I had already been taking pictures for about 40 years. I did that, and I did a photo push with Del Pier shortly before his death, and now I'm working on what I hope will be a sequel to that other big book. And then I also recently, a few months ago, came out with a book that you're talking about called Selected Writings, which is not really my selected writings. It's my pictures of writing, of graffiti and signs and writing in various forms. So it's more of a subject book. The other book was there was no single subject. Yeah. It was just pictures. Pictures not in chronological order, not in geographical order. Just pictures where one led into the other, hopefully. And but this book, they're all pictures that involved writing. I have my way of seeing the world, so sometimes, as you say, ironic or
softly ironic. Huh? There is no anger. I feel no anger or no cynicism in your way of looking at things.
No, but let's say, subtly ironic. Let's put it that way. And so that comes to play also with these pictures, even though sometimes it's just a sign. It's not the same as a picture with people in it, although a few of them have people in them too.
Most of the pictures I saw from you are black and white, also in your new Instagram. So color is you use it less often, or?
Well, I began working with black and white. I was a young photographer, and that's what young photographers did. So that's what I did. And Cartier-Bresson shot in black and white, so you had to shoot in black and white. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, that's not a very good reason to make a decision like that. Mm-hmm. But it turned out that it was, in fact, very useful for what I was doing, because I'm playing on the edge of reality and appearance, and the connection or the disconnection between the two. And having pictures in black and white is one additional step away from reality. In addition to all the other stuff, like it doesn't move, it doesn't change, it exists in a box. The things that separate photographs from reality. So this is one more thing that separates it from reality, which was useful for what I was doing. But since I'm a professional photographer, also, I think I'm better as an amateur photographer. But I'm also a professional photographer, and I've done a lot of work in color, and I've converted pictures from color into black and white that I use. But I can't mix everything up. Mm-hmm. And so the books that I'm doing are in black and white.
Good, yeah. As you said, black and white is already a layer from the abstraction, from the moving away from reality. Yeah. Okay. Good. It's the first time. Well, the festival. What's your impression of this festival? We always like to hear what our guests think, even if you. Well, don't have to be nice, huh? You just as you feel it.
Until less than a week ago, I had never heard of the festival. No offense intended.
No problem.
But actually, I think it's pretty good. I mean, there was one of my colleagues who Bika de Porter, who did a presentation that was, I think, very good. Michael Ackerman, Nikita
Terokin.
Yeah. I thought the level was pretty good. I thought that the questions were good after my presentation, or during my presentation, and also after the presentation. And seemed to be, there seems to be a general enthusiasm here for photography.
Mm-hmm. So, absolutely, yeah.
I feel that's very positive.
Yeah, we also feel that the public is coming. Lots of young people are coming and show their interest to photograph, and not just to photograph plainly without thinking, but also to have a project and to know what they are doing. What would nowadays we live in a world of profusion of images, pictures all around us. Everybody takes pictures. What would be your advice to a young person who wants to, maybe thinks or dreams of becoming a photographer? And what would be your advice to this young person?
If the idea is to make your living, my main advice would be to do something else now. But if you're passionate about it, then you should give it a try and push it. But and think about some of the things that I'm talking about, and a lot of other people are giving advice also. Things like the structure of the picture. You want to touch people. You want people to react, and you have to handle it technically in a way that makes that possible.
Okay, thank you, Richard Kalvar. I told you, I promised we would make it short, so I think we'll stop here. So again, thank you for all the things you said to us, all the advices, all the stories you told us, and the context. Well, the things you told us about your way of approaching pictures. It was a pleasure to have you with us.
Okay, for me too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.